For over 2 decades, the story of September 11th has been written in stone. 19 hijackers, directed by Osama bin Laden, executed the deadliest terrorist attack on American soil. That catastrophic intelligence failure became the immediate catalyst for President George W. Bush to launch a global war on terror, a sprawling military campaign that defined a generation. But investigative journalist Christopher Ballin argues that this accepted history is a carefully manufactured illusion. In his book, Solving 9/11, he presents a counter-narrative, claiming the official story was designed to mask a much deeper, highly organized reality. To build his case, Ballin points to physical anomalies he says the 9/11 Commission actively ignored. First are the dozens of suppressed eyewitness accounts from survivors and first responders describing massive internal explosions tearing through the lower levels of the towers well before they collapsed. Then there is the chemical evidence. Independent researchers analyzing the dust at Ground Zero claim to have discovered unignited superthermite, an advanced, highly engineered explosive compound, alongside distinct pools of molten iron that lingered beneath the rubble for weeks. Finally, there is the crime scene itself. Almost immediately, the structural steel from the collapsed towers was scooped up and shipped off to Asian foundries for recycling, effectively destroying the forensic evidence before a proper criminal investigation could even begin. These anomalies form the absolute foundation of Ballin's premise. If a group of hijackers acting alone brought down the towers, a systematic, rapid cover-up of the physical and chemical evidence at Ground Zero simply wouldn't be necessary. If the official perpetrators couldn't have rigged the destruction, who did? Ballin shifts focus away from the rubble and onto a hidden, interconnected network that he alleges infiltrated U.S. infrastructure from the inside. He starts with physical security. He points to ICTS, a foreign company with deep ties to Israeli intelligence, which managed passenger screening operations at key locations, including Boston's Logan Airport, where 2 of the hijacked flights originated. From physical checkpoints, the network allegedly moved into digital infrastructure. Ballin introduces P-Tech, an enterprise software company that supplied compromised code to critical U.S. government and military systems, including the FAA and NORAD. On the exact morning of the attacks, multiple military terror drills were running concurrently. P-Tech software allegedly served as a digital backdoor, allowing foreign agents to manipulate radar screens and paralyze response protocols while the actual hijackings took place. Bypassing a multi-billion-dollar air defense grid requires deep internal access and sophisticated enterprise architecture. It is a logistical feat completely out of reach for a small cell of isolated militants. While the digital infiltration paralyzed defenses, Ballin claims a physical ground operation was already underway, executed by Israeli military intelligence agents operating through covert front companies scattered across the United States. He highlights the arrest of the so-called dancing Israelis, men later identified as Mossad agents who were intercepted by local police after witnesses reported them setting up cameras and openly celebrating as the Twin Towers burned. Once the towers fell, the logistical cover-up began. Ballin asserts that a network of scrap metal companies with strong Zionist ties immediately took control of the World Trade Center steel, rushing it onto cargo ships bound for overseas smelters. This rapid, systematic recycling erased the most critical components of the crime scene. Without the physical columns to examine, investigators lost the ability to definitively prove whether the buildings failed from fire or were brought down by a controlled demolition using nanothermite. This destruction of evidence was permitted, Ballin argues, because sympathetic U.S. officials actively ran interference. He specifically targets Michael Chertoff, then head of the Justice Department's Criminal Division, alleging he blocked a genuine forensic investigation into the wreckage. To keep the public in the dark, the final layer required narrative control. Ballin claims media moguls connected to this exact same network actively suppressed dissenting evidence, ensuring the official story went unquestioned on national television. When viewed together, this maps out a highly coordinated, multi-tiered operation, requiring advanced digital infiltration, specialized ground agents, massive logistical staging, and total media complicity. In military strategy, a false flag is an operation where a government or shadow network executes an attack disguised as the work of their enemies, usually to justify entering a war. According to Bolin, that was the precise motive behind 9/11. He argues the shadow network engineered the tragedy to create a new Pearl Harbor for the 21st century. This manufactured crisis provided the emotional shockwave needed to instantly pivot American public opinion. It manipulated the world's most powerful military into fighting a predetermined, open-ended conflict in the Middle East. The immediate geopolitical consequence was a swift invasion of Afghanistan, followed shortly by Iraq. American soldiers were deployed across the globe to secure long-term foreign geopolitical objectives under the guise of national security. Domestically, the deception paid off just as quickly. The resulting panic led directly to the Patriot Act, which stripped away constitutional rights, normalized mass surveillance, and tethered U.S. leaders tied directly to the policy goals of a foreign agenda. Bolin's ultimate conclusion is a stark warning. The entire foundation of the War on Terror is built on a lethal illusion, and until the true architecture of the 9/11 attacks is exposed and understood, the public will remain trapped by its ongoing global consequences.